I come in, sir?
Yes, please do.
Good afternoon, sir.
Please take your seat.
Good afternoon. Thank you, sir.
So, Mukund, tell something about you.
Sir, my name is Mukund Kumar. I was born in Madhubani district of Bihar. And sir, I did my 10+2 education from Sainik School, Golpara, Assam. And thereafter, sir, I did my graduation in English literature from Delhi University. Sir, my interest include reading non-fiction book, watching movies and television shows.
So, you did English honors from DU.
Yes, sir.
Which college?
Sir, PGDAV college.
Which college is it? What is PGDAV?
Sir, PGDAV stands for Pannalal Girdhalal Dayanand Anglo-Vedic.
Who was Mr. Pannalal Girdharilal?
Sir, Pannalal Girdhalal, as per my information, sir, he was a local businessman who donated land to our college. So, in that honor, his name was added in the college name.
So, his only contribution to the mankind is that he gave some land to DAV college, or there was something more to it. What is the whole history of DAV? Why these institutions are formed?
Sir, Dayanand Anglo-Vedic institutes are institute formed on the ideals of the Swami Dayanand Saraswati, who was founder of the Arya Samaj.
Mukund, you studied from Sainik School. You also studied from a Arya Samaj institution. Arya Samaj was against the co-education. Sainik schools are against co-education. Why you people have problem with women studying with you?
Now in our college, yes. But sir, in Sainik school also we had this, but recently our Union Defense Minister...
What is wrong with our so-called culture and civilization that we believe if women study with us, they will corrupt us?
Sir, personally, I do not feel anything wrong with women studying. In fact, I believe that studying together, boys and girls.
So you disagree with Swami Dayanand on co-education?
No, sir. I also don't mean to disagree with Swami Dayanand Saraswati. But sir, later on, as we see now, things have changed, and both boys and girls study.
What changed? Earlier, women were more whimsical. Now they have become humane and better. That's what you're saying?
Not in that regard, sir. In college, even in Sainik schools now, sir, girls child are being allowed from next to next year. And in Delhi University, in my college, it has been going on for a long time. So I don't say any problem.
You studied English literature, but ended up taking political science and international relations. If even the institutions like Delhi University can't impart confidence in their students to take English literature as their optional, who will?
Sir, in my personal decision, sir, it was not a matter of confidence. I was okay with English. But since, sir, in Delhi University, we have choice-based credit system in which students have option to choose one elective course. And in that, sir, I chose political science in 4 of the 6 semesters. And from there,
coming
sir,
to the CBCS, as you mentioned, choice-based credit system.
Right, sir.
You are into the 10-point CGPA thing and you got a 6.2 CGPA. That should have been first division ideally. Why you mention it as second division? What is CGPA and how the divisions are calculated in CGPA?
So sir, when we come from CGPA to marks, so we multiply it by 9.5.
That is in the 9-point CGPA, not in the 10-point CGPA.
Sir, the result that we get below that, there is one asterisk and which says that to reach at your percentage marks, you have to multiply by 9.5.
What is CGPA?
Sir, it's cumulative grade point average.
How is it calculated? How is it different from arithmetic average?
Sir, as per my knowledge, sir, grades are given and there are 10 grades in choice-based credit system, sir. So O plus is outstanding, and then there is average, sir, A grade, which is very good, and then below that.
See, there have been, even yesterday, it's been announced that campuses will be overseen by the security forces. They are really worried that security forces, the universities, are being infected by anti-India activities. Do you believe that political science and such disciplines are to be blamed? They are over-politicizing our university campuses.
I'd like to disagree quite here, sir. Sir, I don't think that a particular subject should be blamed for that. In fact, sir,
do you believe that this problem of over-politicization of campus is happening?
I would not call it over, sir, but certainly, sir, students awakening in recent time and even earlier also we had, sir, as we saw during
Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
sir, it has both merits as well as demerits. As per sir merits are concerned, student are able to put forth their views, their demands in proper way. But sir, certainly everyone has a right to protest, but that should not compromise on public order. That should not damage the security of the environment, and that should also not impact the academic performance of the fellow students.
So,
Mukund,
Yes, sir.
can you tell us some names of Indian English writers?
R.K. Narayan is one, sir. Then Anita Desai is another. And then, sir, Kalidas is one of the greatest.
Kalidas.
I beg your pardon, sir. He wrote in Sanskrit. And then Amitabh Ghosh is there. So these all are some of the names, sir, that is coming to my mind, right?
The Village by the Sea was written by whom?
Pardon, sir.
The Village by the Sea.
I'm sorry, sir. I'll have to look into this. I don't.
Okay. In English literature of foreign countries, have you read Charles Dickens?
Charles Dickens, yes, sir, it was there.
Which book you have studied?
Sir, Hard Times.
So what is the central theme of Hard Times?
Sir, central theme of Hard Times, since he wrote during the time of the capitalism and its effect, so basically it dealt with the suffering of the children and workers in the capitalist industry, sir. So that was basic idea.
So do you think that his findings are still relevant in India and other countries?
Up to some extent, there are still some problems associated with labors and the way they are being dealt, the low pay issue in informal sector. So certainly, sir, points highlighted by him were relevant in those times and are relevant in our times also.
What do you mean by social security for workers?
Sir, social security for workers means that they should have security with regards to their health, and then they should also have pension opportunity when they retire from the business, and then their children should get proper education. So all this can be encompassed as a social security for workers.
Recently, Government of India, with an intention to reform the labor market, has announced that it will create 4 kinds of labor codes.
Right, sir.
Which particular code would take care of social security of the workers?
Sir, certainly I'm aware that 44 laws and more is being encompassed in 4, but sir, I'm not aware about this particular code, sir. So I'll have to look into this, sir.
Government is now talking openly to promote capitalism in India and wealth creation in India. So do you think that government's policy direction is consistent with what Charles Dickens was having experience about British developments?
Sir, certainly presently our government is talking about wealth creation, but at the same time, sir, I also believe that there are some elements of security for workers, and then like Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Mandhan, under which workers from the informal sector will be able to contribute to their saving, which can be withdrawn later on as a pension. So I believe that, sir, Charles Dickens was quite critical of the capitalist system and highlighted it in very green situation. But presently, when we talk about wealth creation, we don't intend to be as harsh and as exploitative as was shown by Dickens.
Which article of the Constitution wants the government to discourage concentration of wealth and economic power?
Sir, Article 39 of the Directive Principle of State Policy talks about this, sir.
So if the Constitution wants the government to discourage concentration of wealth and economic power,
Right.
and government is directly and openly promoting wealth creation, and even some of the private organizations have accumulated huge economic power. So do you think the government is working according to the principles of Constitution, or it is violating the principle itself?
Sir, we have to see that directive principles are directives in nature and that are not enforceable in the court of law, but certainly it is fundamental in the governance. But sir, when government talks about wealth creation, sir, so government intends to earn revenue from that so that it can also provide benefits to the weaker section of the society. So sir, certainly when wealth would be created, so it will come under the income tax net, and then revenue of the government will be increased, so government can spend that money more on the weaker section of the society. So sir,
Last year, government drastically reduced the tax which is levied on the profit earned by companies, that is corporate income tax. But in this year's budget, the tax on individual workers earned, is income tax, is not been reduced that drastically. It has reduced tax moderately, but at the same time, it has also said that this will be applicable only for those workers who will give up their exemptions and deductions.
So, sir, certainly this has been the new trend where the option has been given to taxpayer. If that let go exemption, then they will be charged lesser income tax. But sir, I don't see it as a conflict between the those who are earning money and those who are paying, those who are earning less. So in fact, sir, I think it is a choice given to the taxpayers so that they can optimize their paying tax and can see how much disposable income they have in their hand. So if they are being benefited with new tax regime, they can go for, and in that case they would be charged lower income tax, but they have to let go of all the exemptions. But if they are continuing with the old, then they will have exemption. So sir,
farmers are in distress and rural economy is also sinking. Their real per capita growth is very small, almost negligible, resulting in very strong deficit in rural demand, and that is reduced the sales of goods and services produced by companies in urban areas, and thereby it is bringing down the entire economic growth momentum, spiraling down. So do you think the government is having a vision as to how to run this machine, greater machine called economy?
Certainly, I believe that government do have the vision, and things are being done. As we saw in budget, sir, there has been allocation of 2.83 lakhs crore for agriculture and rural economy. So I don't think, sir, that we are lacking on that front. Things are being done. But certainly, sir, issues of the economy take some time, and there are multiple factors, cyclical, structure, which are working in combination. So I believe, sir, we'll have to see for some time, then we can certainly come out of this grim situation.
Okay, thank you.
Mukund, you come from Madhubani.
Yes,
Madhubani is very, very famous. Why?
Ma'am, Madhubani is very famous for Mithila painting, which is also known as Madhubani painting.
What are the unique features of that Madhubani painting?
Ma'am, Madhubani painting is a kind of folk painting, and its unique feature is that, ma'am, it has lot of geometrical patterns. For example, circle, square, and all those are used. Apart from that, ma'am, both natural as well as man-made synthetic colors are being used. So it makes it very attractive, ma'am. And in fact, recently Madhubani railway station was decorated with Mithila painting, and it got the award for the second most beautiful railway station in our country.
But what we get to know is the condition of Madhubani painters, the workers who do this work, is actually is in a very bad state. So do you feel that can we do something about it?
Certainly, ma'am. I believe that there is lot of scope for improving the conditions of the work painters in Mithila painting. And for that, ma'am, I think that awareness on the national level, global level has to be enhanced so that, ma'am, their paintings can be recognized. And certainly with GI tag, and in fact, award was also given to painters in 80s to Jagdamba Devi and all. But ma'am, in recent times, we have to make galleries, museums based on Mithila painting, and we also have to show it as exhibitions. And apart from that, ma'am, I believe that every university, for example, Lalit Narayan Mithila University, should have a specific chair with regards to Mithila painting. So, ma'am, all these steps can be taken to improve their conditions.
Okay. Your father is into agriculture.
Right, ma'am.
Your family owns some land?
Yes, ma'am.
How much is that?
Ma'am, it is around 3 acres.
Okay. And who does the basic work, the farming work?
Certainly, ma'am, my father is also there. And then, as we know, ma'am, agriculture cannot be done alone. We need help from other people. So other workers also join, and then together with.
And other family members?
Ma'am, in my family, my father and me are only male members, but my uncles also help in that regards.
But what is the scenario over there in your area? Are they involved in the farming activity or not?
They are involved, ma'am. They are involved. They go and they work in farms.
What kind of activities do you see them doing?
Ma'am, during child I remember many memories because that was the time I spent. So sowing was being done together, and then harvesting of the crop and carrying it from there to our field or wherever threshing used to be done. So they are involved basically in all kind of thing on par with male. And second, recently, ma'am, there has been huge male migration to other regions like Punjab and Haryana. So women have been taking up a role in agriculture. So, ma'am.
But do you see it as a problem? Like when I asked you, so you said that we too are male members in our family. So somehow do you feel that we don't acknowledge the work done by females, especially in the farming sector?
I may have said it somewhere, but I don't see any problem, ma'am. In fact, I believe that they are equal, and in fact, they are doing all the work.
Do they work in farming sector or not?
They do work, ma'am.
They do. But do we acknowledge the work done by them?
Certainly, ma'am, there are some problems there. Even in domestic work, we see that there is ignorance of the recognition of their work, care work as we call. But I believe that with time, ma'am, their works are being recognized. But there are many issues that we have to work there. Their land holding is very, very less. And as per decision making, ma'am, I still believe that.
Who's the owner of that 3-acre land which your family owns?
My father, it is on his name.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, Mukund, what is Shuddhi movement?
Sir, Shuddhi movement is a movement in which, sir, earlier like missionaries used to convert Hindus into Christians and other. So Shuddhi movement was a movement launched to bring them back to into the fold of Hinduism.
How it was responsible for the rise of communalism in India?
Sir, since sir, like in the talks of the Swami Dayanand Saraswati, and then in Arya Samaj there was talk of going back to Vedas and all. And then, sir, in Shuddhi movement, we asked them to come back into the fold of Hinduism by highlighting the good points of the Hinduism. So somewhere, sir, that may have, but I don't see it as a major reason behind communalism, sir.
It gave rise to the Muslim revivalist movement also. Can you name some of them in reaction to Shuddhi movement?
Sir, I have read, but I can't tell right now, sir. I'll have to look into this, sir.
Okay, can you differentiate between the idea of Swami Dayanand Saraswati and Swami Vivekanand?
Sir, Swami Dayanand Saraswati talked about going back to Vedas and establishing the golden ideals of the Vedic age. But in Swami Vivekanand...
What is the basic difference? Just tell me the basic difference between both ideas.
Sir, both had positive outlook about society, but difference comes. Swami Vivekanand talked about youth power and bringing modern education system, education of science into our education system. So I think, sir, these all are some of the.
Who played more, bigger role in Indian national movement? Swami Dayanand Saraswati or Swami Vivekanand?
Sir, I believe that both of them contributed in their way. Because sir, Swami Vivekananda awakened youth, and Swami Dayananda Saraswati also talked about against caste system and then education of girls. Certainly, sir, as we talked that girls education issue, but in my opinion, sir, Swami Dayananda Saraswati was in favor of girls education also. So all these barriers were removed, and then we came to the national movement. So both, sir, I believe that contributed in their way.
Okay, Mukund, what is Fabian socialism? Fabian socialism, you must have studied in political science.
Sir, Fabian socialism is a branch of socialism that developed in United Kingdom, sir. So somewhere it talked about bringing change into the capitalism. So it was alleged that it is not the core socialism, rather it is just the off wing of capitalism itself.
How Nehru was influenced from Fabian socialism?
Sir, I believe that sir, one of the proponent or one of the scholar involved in Fabian socialism was Harold Lasky, and Nehru was his Pandit Nehru was his student. So by that way, he was involved by he was influenced by the Fabian socialism, sir.
Okay, what is the difference, basic difference between Leninism and Marxism?
Sir, there are various differences between Leninism and Marxism, sir. Marx talked about establishing the communism, where he talked about classless society, stateless society. But in contrast, we saw that Lenin established a state, and then he also established party. So somewhere it is said that Lenin was someone who denied. Lenin was a Peter who denied his master. So that is the difference, sir. Because Marx was not in favor of party system or establishing a state. He was in favor of a stateless society. But Lenin established party as well as established state. So that was the major difference, sir, between these two.
Okay, Mukund, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mukund,
Yes, sir.
are there Sainik schools in Bihar?
Yes, sir. There are two Sainik schools in Bihar.
So how come you went to Sainik school Gwalpara?
Sir, as per I recall, sir, I was in a school and there my teachers guided me to appear for this exam. So usually students from my school used to appear 1 year late. So I appeared 1 year early. And then what happened, sir? When I qualified written, interview and medical, so I wanted to make use of that opportunity, and therefore, sir, I joined. And later on, sir, in class 9.
But why this choice of Assam and not Bihar?
I'm not very aware about that, sir. In fact, in my school, as I saw, sir, there were some seniors who came from Sainik School, Golpara, Assam. So maybe we were.
Okay, so in Sainik school Gwalpara, you were in Lashit house.
Yes, sir.
Who was Lashit Borphukan?
Sir, my house was named after great Ahom dynasty general Lasit Borphukan, and he was the army general of the Ahom dynasty.
And what do you know about the Battle of Saraighat? It was fought between which two armies?
Sir, it was fought between Mughal army and army of Ahom dynasty, and in that Lasit Borphukan plays a very major role, and Mughals were defeated. Mughals under Ram Singh came to attack Assam, and Mughals were defeated. So
Okay. Northeast has been plagued by a lot of insurgencies, and recently the central government has signed the third peace accord with Bodos.
yes, sir.
So, what do you think? The previous two accords have failed, and this is the third accord, and maybe a fourth accord will be signed after 10 years?
Sir, I'd not call previous two attempts as a failure, sir. Certainly, that was an attempt made to establish peace. But, sir, I believe that with time we get to know more, we get to reach at more reconciliation process. So, in third accord, we have been more comprehensive. So, I believe
But do you see the possibility of a fourth accord in few years' time?
Sir, I think that problem has been largely solved, as this time large number of
Okay, can you tell me the parties involved in this accord who have signed the accord?
in Bodo accord that has been signed, there is one Bodo student union. I'm unable to.
APSU, all Bodo
Yes, sir,
Students
all
Union.
Bodo students union, and then sir, National Democratic Front of Bodoland is the major faction. Apart from that, sir, there are various other small factions also, but these two.
Central government and state government of Assam.
Right, sir.
Okay, if we look at the international relations, so US has been threatening India of using CAATSA. What is CAATSA?
Sir, CAATSA is a act that stands for Countering American Adversary Through Sanction Act. So US has categorized 3 countries, that is Iran, Korea, and I believe, sir, China. And any country who engages in trade with all these 3 countries will have to go through the.
Not Russia?
Sir, I beg your pardon. I believe it is Russia, not China.
Okay. So what is the major military equipment that India has been wanting to buy from Russia?
Sir, recently we bought S-400, that is air defense system, and for that we were threatened to be brought under CAATSA.
Okay, my final question to you. What do you understand by a right, and why are fundamental rights fundamental?
Sir, in technical terms, we say that rights are the claims of the individual against the state, and fundamental rights are called fundamental because they are very fundamental in the development of the human beings. For the overall development of the personality, human beings need all these fundamental rights, and this is also the fundamental right of the land. So that is why, sir, we call it as a fundamental right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If we continue this, who gave this right to citizen?
Sir,
What is the source of these rights?
sir, in our country, constitution is source of our fundamental.
And where does the constitution derive these rights so that it can be given to people?
Sir, as stated in preamble, a constitution derives its rights from we the people. So basically,
Basically people giving these rights to people.
People agreeing to recognize the rights of the people. So until rights are recognized, so sir, in that way.
You mentioned that you like watching television and movies.
Right, sir.
If you look at the news shows that go on 24/7 these days on many channels, do you believe that the anchors have become new dictators?
So certainly we hear the terms of yellow journalism or media trial. So I believe that, sir, up to some extent, yes, it has been extended as we go behind television rating point. So there has been rush to attract the masses, and for that all the sensational news and all those things goes on. But then, sir, there are other television channels like Raj Sabha TV, Lok Sabha TV, which
We don't need anchors as dictators because they have government as dictators.
not sir, government, I don't see government as a dictator, sir. In our country we have democratic system and we have very clear defined role of all the wings. So government is not dictator, and neither anchors are not called them dictator, but certainly sensationalism and all those can be avoided, and we can talk peacefully and in reasoned way.
Mukund, as a chairperson of the board, I was asked to take a vote from the members. I secretly did, and 4 of us agree that Mukund should become a civil servant. But one of us disagreeing, and the one more member believes that you're not good enough. You have to identify which member probably voted against you.
I would not, since 4 members have agreed, so maybe
It's not going to be a majority decision. It has to be a consensus decision. You have to identify. Just identifying will make the vote as 5. Which member you believe must have disagreed with your candidature and why? You have interacted with every member.
Sir, in my opinion, sir, I have interacted well with all the esteemed members, and sir, I don't believe that I'm qualified enough to judge on my esteemed members who are taking my mock, sir. So I'd leave it. I'd not like.
Fine, Mukund. It was nice talking to you. You can leave now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So Mukund, you're what, 22?
Yes.
Okay. What's your take? How was the interview, and what are the areas you believe that you need to improve?
I believe that it went pretty well, sir, but on optional part, I think that I need to revise. So some part is still left, sir. So since it is in March, sir, so I believe that by that time I can complete, sir.
Okay, it's on 24th March.
Yes.
This hairstyle of yours is a natural hairstyle, or you keep it this way?
Sir, it is natural.
Okay. Can you work on it?
Yes, sir, I can work on.
Please, I mean, I'm not suggesting what to do with it, but please work with it. It's too teenage appearance for civil services. I'm not saying that it's बहुत ध्यान नहीं जाता है उस पर, लेकिन अगर specifically देखो तो जाता है.
Yes.
So you can work on that. So Mukund, you are a good candidate. You're definitely going to do wonders because considering that you are a young candidate and first attempt.
Yes.
First attempt, young candidate, Delhi University, Sanic School. I mean, there's absolutely nothing with the board members will disagree to as far as the personality markers are concerned, right? Your communication is good, your sitting posture is good, your voice level is good, hand movement by and as restricted, eye contact is good. I'll come to the eye contact later. Flow is good, smile at the right places, understanding is good, comprehension doing well. By and large, you are handling the board in a very, very polite and a nice manner. board members gonna appreciate it. Also that there's hardly any topic or issue where you're clueless. So there may be better answers available, but there were no areas where you were clueless, which is also good. It's not that we are looking, board members or any board is not looking for somebody perfect, but if there is something that you are very close to it, so that's going to be helpful. There can be areas where you can improve a bit, considering that you have a lot of time in your hand. The one is the knowledge part. Obviously, you know what are the areas you can further revise. That is good.
Yes.
But my primary concern going to be that you have to ensure that you are able to sustain this another 1.5 months left before your interview with the same energy level.
Yes.
Because otherwise there's a fatigue factor that creeps in. You'll be doing mocks after mocks. People will say that you are very good. Then comes a kind of get a little relaxed, or you're not able to keep that momentum for a longer period of time. So you have to consciously working on sustaining the performance. That is one thing which is primary. I mean, which is the most important thing. Apart from that, eye contact is something you are working on somebody's advice, not your own, where you in somewhere in between you try and rope in everybody into your conversation. That is one that is very artificial. Second, it never helps. I'm doing it for 2 decades now. I'm advising people for candidates for a very long period of time, and I take pain in telling them that please don't try and do it. See, you need to understand, you're talking with me, information is being carried by the language we are using, and trust is being built by the eyes.
Yes, sir.
You are breaking this trust building exercise deliberately when you break from eye contact from me and take it to somebody else. A few glances here and there will not hurt,
Right.
but it should not be more than few glances. Okay, you try and rope in everybody. That breaks the trust between you and the person you're talking to. Okay, so you can work on that. I'm not saying you're doing it too often. You're not doing it too often, but you're doing in between, right? So you can work on that. Scenic school question, either you could not understand it or you deliberately did not answer it. The question was very clear. Why a scenic school in Assam and not scenic schools of Bihar? You should have, since you are good at a comprehension, so I realized that you should be in position to understand the question, and it should be hitting it in the first place itself, right? What was the reason?
सर दिस वाज वही सर अटेम्प्ट ही नहीं किया मैंने, बिहार के लिए अटेम्प्ट नहीं किया था.
Why? Deliberately?
पहली बार में ही सर हम लोग जब फॉर्म भरे तो शायद सर को लगा कि पहली बार इसको असम का कराते कम एज
might
में
be
है.
easier.
प्रैक्टिस कराया गया था.
अच्छा,
तो
that
उसी
was
में
not
सर-
your serious attempt.
That was not serious.
That
तो
was a
निकल गया
preparatory
तो-
attempt, and since you cleared, so you got that.
हाँ, तो सब बोले कि
So
join-
you don't have permission to get into. If you clear a school, one school, then you have to go to that school only.
सर क्लास 9 में मौका मिलता है, we get मौका, but I enjoyed Assam very much. My friends were there.
Acha, you could
So
have
I
changed,
did-
but you stayed in.
I
Assam.
stayed.
So mention it.
Right.
There's nothing wrong in it. I mean, there's nothing that you should be hiding, right? So there's no problem, right? Everything else is fine. When you mention about your college, there should be some sense of association that should be coming, and you shouldn't be mentioning Pannalal Girdharlal like somebody as nobody. You should mention, if not nothing more than at least a philanthropist.
Right.
So he was a philanthropist who gave land to DAV, and this college is functioning for quite some time now. You're getting my point? It appears in your introduction as if you're rubbishing him, right? You need
Right.
not. I'm not saying he's very important, but you need not. Everything else is in place. Please keep your performance going, right? All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.